Good morning. It is me, Mikey Pipes. And I got Godzilla.
What's up, guys?
And this morning...
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, guys. Happy Monday. This morning, we're going to take out this triangle tube indirect water heater. For those who do not know, an indirect water heater is a domestic water tank that is set up to a boiler, and an additional zone is created to heat a coil or a outer tank on this kind of device, right? So when the aquastat, not a thermostat, when the aquastat is calling for heat, it triggers the boiler to turn on if it's not already at temperature, and triggers the circulator on, circulating water to the tank, and once the aquastat is satisfied, it turns off. It is the second most efficient way of heating water. The first most efficient way is a tankless water heater. What's annoying about this particular one is that there's only one drain, which is there, and that is on the boiler side or the hydronic water side. There is no drain, if you see, to drain that outer tank. In some cases, there's a coil that's inside the tank, and the coil gets hot water from the boiler, which then heats the tank. All right? So, unfortunately, we were here last week. I saw water pouring out of this relief valve. I was scared to get my shoes wet, and you guys crucified me. You really did. But, nonetheless, what I failed to realize or see, I saw it though, but this line, here's our cold water line, was full of condensation. Why was it full of condensation? Because cold water was continuously running into it, right? Then, because it was cracked, feeding the hydronic side or the boiler side, causing the relief valve to go. Now, I got to make a change here. This needs to be in a vertical orientation, not horizontal. And I'm contemplating whether or not to install the expansion tank, vertically. Right now it's upside down, but it is what it is. And another thing, I learned a valuable lesson over the weekend. And the valuable lesson that I learned is that every plumber, has their own special techniques that work for them. What may be good for me may not necessarily be good for you. And what may be good for you may not necessarily be good for me, Mikey Pipes. Lesson learned. You know what? You're only human. We make mistakes. We learn from them, and we move on. Lesson of the weekend. Let's get this bad boy replaced. All right. We pumped down the hydronic side over there. Cut the hydronic lines. Supply and return. To drain it, I took off the female adapter that was there. I got a wash machine hose, cut off the end of it, and shoved that into the cold water inlet. Took out the dip tube and primed it with some water. And there, you hold this down, prime that. Now it's full of water, so now she's draining. And I took off the temperature and pressure valve, and we can slowly see that the water is draining away now. It's the worst part of these Weil McLains. The original ones, the AquaPlus, all the tappings were on top, for the domestic water. You can use a suction as long as there's a valve up here, but in this case, there was no valve, so I got to improvise, adapt, and overcome the challenge. Getting it done. All right, went with the Weil McLain AquaPlus 45. My hydronic out is right there, perfect for that. My supply on the hydronic side is right up there. We're going to cut this back a little bit and connect to there. So I got a 1-inch male adapter, which I'm going to secure. Ow, thing's so tight in here. I got the Pacow wrench. It's a cool wrench, but it's cool. All right. And I got my burring tool. I'm going to deburr that 1 inch. This is M copper. M copper is used in New York for hydronic heating. One of the main reasons why we use that is it's thinner. And because it's a low pressure system, we don't need to use type L. And a lot of you guys I know in the rest of the country, are frowned upon that. But here in New York, on low pressure heating systems, we use M. No need for L. Totally acceptable. Let's make that connection with a 1 inch Viega press fitting, a little nipple right there, and connect the return side. I gotta admit, I really do love the Milwaukee Pro Press machine. It's awesome, saves so much time, reliable. That's Godzilla. It's got the 3/4 inch press tray. Godzilla, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Forgot to ask you.
It was a good weekend, man. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
I picked up some new tools with the merch money, man.
Oh, good job. Good job. You gotta invest in yourself. All right, let's quickly review what we did. We have the hydronic supply, hydronic return. This is fairly easy. Threw a coupling there, coupling. Moved over the piping over a little bit. We had a little bit of play there, forgiveness. But let's focus on the domestic water. Because if you noticed, the previous tank did not have a thermostatic mixing valve on the domestic side. So we're going to put that in. Here, this is B, hot water outlet. Down below, cold water inlet. So we're going to pipe in a Webstone 3/4 press thermostatic mixing valve. That way we can utilize the tank to its fullest potential, heating up this tank to 180 degrees, and then tempering down the outlet temperature to a anti-scald amount. Sorry, I got interrupted by a phone call. So we're gonna use a thermostatic mixing valve to temper the water leaving this tank. So let me show you how to do it. All right, let's review. Here is my domestic cold water in. Now, I come across, I threw in a valve. Why did I throw in a valve? Well, we ran out of couplings. So I threw in 3/4 inch press, lead-free ball valve. Now, is our cold water coming in. Let's follow this, guys. Forget about this for right now. All right, my T, forget about that for right now. To there, my cold water inlet. I'm gonna reduce down to 1/2 inch and throw in a boiler drain right here, all right? This T is going to the cold side, right, of my thermostatic mixing valve. The top, this is hot water outlet, domestic hot water out, going to the mixing valve, and on this side is mix. Mix is now feeding the house with domestic hot water. And we can temper it down by adjusting the dial. Pretty simple. So we set the tank to 180 degrees. We rely on the thermostatic mixing valve to temper that water so it's not a scalding hazard and maximizing the amount of hot water that this tank can produce. Roughly around 300 gallons of hot water at 120 degrees per hour when you set the aquastat to 180 degrees. So that's one of the reasons why it's the second most efficient ways of heating water. This tank is essentially like a thermos. It has no flue on the top, it has no openings, it's super insulated, and this 45-gallon tank really puts out a lot of hot water per hour. So next, this is the confusing part. When the first time I did one of these, it came on for a split second and turned off. I had to call Weil McLain, and they told me how to wire it the right way. So I'm going to show you the right way of wiring it. So if you run into a Weil McLain AquaPlus, the newer versions like this, hopefully you won't run into problems like I did the first time I did it. All right, stay tuned. Steven, this shit cray. So I take apart the connector that was on the triangle tube, which is similar to the AquaPlus, the original AquaPlus, and I say, oh, wow, look at this. They have 3 wires, because I need a common, right? So I'm like, interesting. So I don't need to run a new thermostat wire. Mikey Pipes spoke too soon. Oh, yes, I did, and I jinxed myself. Oh, hold on. I just spoke in a third person. People are hating on that.
Man,
Why can't I speak in a third person? Anyway, Mikey Pipes, a.k.a. me, spoke too soon. Because then I go over here. Now let's take a look at what they're doing here, right? Zone 1 is my indirect water heater. And I'm thinking, oh, very good. Here's my wire, my thermostat wire coming in right there, right? And I say, okay, there's the red wire going to one of the TTs. And then my white wire is going to zone 2 TT, right? And I'm like, and the green wire is going to zone 3 TT. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, what were they thinking here? So all this mess here, right? Following that, goes into this hellhole. What were they thinking? So now we have to trace out this line, which goes into this conduit. So let's open up this and see what kind of mess we see. We're going to see a mess. What do you think, Steven?
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Why overcomplicate things? Why? I don't get it. It doesn't even work. What the hell? You guys are ranting and raving about these Wagos, right? I got the lever up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's solid wire. All right, you know what? I've had enough. Time for a wire nut.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's good. All right. Look at this. It's like a miniature Wago. See that?
That works.
Well, it worked last time we did one on a Weil McLain. So the wires gotta go in there. Oh, one-handed mic can't do it. Here, hold on. Let's just push in that little lever. Bingo, like that. Let's push in this lever like that. Slide you in there like that. Okay. Now, let's turn off that power for now. Okay. Let's review the wiring and disregard this for right now. We're going to have to clean that up. If you guys noticed in Thursday's video with the water pouring out of the relief valve, which we still have to change the orientation on, this room was like a storage locker, right? And I was going to put the aquastat control over here, right? But I realized they're going to lean stuff up against it, and it's going to break the knob, and then they're going to call me back to replace this. So I moved it off to the side here, got the wire nice and tight. Let's go over the wiring. I really hate this little digital controller because it needs constant 24 volts. So I took, when in doubt, rip it out. That was a disaster. Like literally, I don't know how they got that to work, but follow proper low voltage wiring protocols, red and white and blue is common, right? But they just did everything backwards there. So over here, I have blue is my common going to AC1. Yellow is my 24 volts going to AC2. And my dry contacts are right there on the left-hand side, R and W, TT, which goes to TT right there, priority zone. And my sensor, which is this wire there, goes into that little cool Wago. See that? Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to purge. So, let's move Mikey Pipe's jacket out of the way. We'll throw it over there. We are going to slowly open this valve. See the direction of flow? It's going towards the boiler. All right. Interrupted by the phone call again. We're going to open that up in a minute. We're just going to double check everything that we got here. That's nice and tight. Let's open this up. What's going on here? What is going on here? This is feeding that. Why did they do it this way? Huh. They're feeding a zone. See? They're feeding this zone, which is, I had the wrong one. They're feeding this zone. Why do they do it that way? Look at this. They're feeding this zone here. Follow the piping to there. Why do they do it this way? I just noticed that. All right, we got to open this one up. Okay, so that's open. Okay. Something's not right here. And my pressure gauge, of course, shows nothing. That's feeding this line, goes to the boiler, and coming back to supply side, everything is open. Here's my indirect, which is now hot. Let's see something here. Let's get the hose. Let's try to purge here. It's very odd, though. Very, very odd how they did this backwards. All right, put that into the bucket. Let's see what we get out of this. All right, because there's my return. Out. Oh, I reversed it. Now let's kick up the pressure. Put it into the water so we can see the bubbles. See that? Now you guys are going to comment it's reversed, but it's fine because it's just a tank. Mm-hmm. It's a tank within a tank. A lot of air there. I feel it getting warm. You gotta hold that hose. You got a pocket of air. That thing's gonna take off like a fire hose.
It's happened to me already too.
Yeah, it has. All right, I think that's most of the air. Let's stop fast filling. Let's close. Let's open. Now, okay. Now let's turn her on. Flip the switch on. All right. So zone 1 isn't calling because this thing is thinking. Set for 160, the maximum. I don't know why it doesn't go to 180, but it should go to 180. And we can hear all that air. She's circulating. Boiler's cold. We know that's not accurate anyway. All right, we'll let this thing run and see what's happening.
New York, we were cold.
That's right. You know what I just realized, Stephen? We're in a confined space.
Yes, we are.
All right? This is a staircase. This is nothing there. All right? Let's take a step back. All right? And there's the door. It's a confined space. We've got 180,000 BTU slant fin century gas-fired boiler, right? And you know this door is always closed. And it looks like our only source of vent is that. But there's sheetrock on the other side of that.
And cabinets.
And cabinets. How is this thing, except maybe that chase, how is this getting fresh air? What's even more interesting is that the boiler was always here. Right? It's not like this is a new install, they moved the boiler from someplace else, but there is no combustion air other than what's in this room. Huh. Interesting. Don't you say?
Absolutely. There's really nothing.
There's no fresh air unless that chase up there goes outside, but I doubt it. Because that 1/2-inch PEX isn't insulated. So even if it was opened outside, it would probably freeze up. Let's see. See, yeah, the chimney was, that's the chimney. There's the clean out for it. Amazing. There's absolutely no combustion air in this room other than the air in the room itself. Amazing. You know what they say? It is what it is.
It is.
The only question I have now is, do we actually fill the storage locker back up with stuff? Yeah, let's do it. It'll be easy.